we go.
Perfect.
Hello and welcome to Experience Recovery Conversations. 3 of the recovery conversations is all about the teams that are delivering different services than they were prior to lockdown. And today I'm joined by Donna from Rochdale. So Donna, just give us a quick intro. Tell us who you are, what you do and where you do it, please.
Hi everybody, I'm Donna Livesey from Link4Life. We're a charity based in Rochdale in Greater Manchester, and I'm the head of health and physical activity within that service.
Okay, so what did that mean before March the 24th when life as we know it changed? What sort of things did you get up to?
So before we had a change of direction within our team, we were providers of physical activity and well-being. We operated facilities. We ran swimming lessons. We had gyms. We had a water activity centre. We had museums. We had lots and lots of buildings that were open. And within my team, we operated programs.
Right. Keep talking, Donna. Tell us about the programs.
Some of those programs were around children and young people. So we have a really quite a strong PE and school sport program where our community coaches go into schools and provide schools, predominantly primary schools, with high quality PE. That program has reduced slightly, but is still operation during COVID. We delivered a new program during COVID times, which is called the Mentally Healthy Schools program, and this is a national program which we've managed to set up during COVID. It's a 4-year program for children and young people to provide them with support for their mental health and well-being, which at this current time, is really well required. So it's a 6-week whole school program that our team are delivering. We are the only trust in the country delivering on that program, so we're really proud of how we've managed to get on that program. We also delivered, thank you. We also deliver #Thrive program. So again, this program is around children and young people who require some emotional health and well-being support, so low level support. So our team work on the activity element of that program. So each young person that's referred into the service is given an action plan from Link4Life around the individual's need. That need could be anything from wanting to take part in a new sport, or wanting to learn how to swim, or wanting to take part in an art or cultural activity. It's all very much centred around that young person and the needs of that young person.
Okay, so are those programs, sorry Donna, are those programs that you've come up with, you've got some funding for it, and are they programs that you've been commissioned to deliver? How does it work?
Yes, of course. So #Thrive was one of the first programs that my team were commissioned to actually deliver. We've been delivering that program now for probably 4 years.
Right.
We deliver the program in partnership with Pennine Care, who are our NHS Foundation trust within Rochdale, and also with Tog Minds, who are our sort of mental health provider.
Okay, so it's a combination of things then, that you go, actually this is a project we could really get our teeth into and make a difference, but you also have that relationship with the clinical commissioning group, etc., that knows what your capabilities are. Yeah,
absolutely. And the reason that we are probably one of the only providers of the Mental Healthy Schools team is absolutely that relationship and that trust we've managed to build with the commissioner to show that actually the work of leisure trusts across the country, it can be recognised and it can make that difference within a clinical setting also.
Yeah,
so we're providing psychoeducation programs within schools.
Okay, so those types of things, I guess, must have put you in a really interesting position once we went into lockdown, once we got some clarity around what it meant and what furlough meant and things like that. So what sort of things have you been up to during the 3 lockdowns that we've experienced?
So on the 19th of March, as you say, our business changed dramatically and significantly. We were put into a totally unknown world as a result of the pandemic. Our facilities closed, and how long they were going to close for, we're not sure. And that changed, as you mentioned, 3 times. That's changed, and we've had to have numerous plans on reopening the centres and what happens when the centres are closed to make sure we're able to sort of reopen. But after the 19th of March, I remember it significantly. I remember being in the head office at Rochdale Borough Council and Andy King having a conversation with me to say, would you like to sort of take on the lead for Link4Life within the local response? And I agreed, clearly not aware of what was ahead, to be quite honest, but we all like to get involved in, and our team and my team especially like a challenge and like to deliver a project. So we were really enthusiastic, and we just didn't sit back and wait for changes to happen. We reacted The team rallied together as experts in their field, and that was really important to deliver like a person-centered approach to the pandemic.
Right. So what did that feel like? So if I'm a member of the community in Rochdale, what sort of things did you do that I would have interacted with?
We supported the local office, so hand in hand with Rochdale Council, and that was really, really important. We in a very, very short period of time, we set up what we classed as a local response. And sort of 32 people from our team were deployed into that local response. And this was a Rochdale response. It wasn't just a Link4Life response. It wasn't just a local authority response. It was a borough response to ensure that our residents were safe. And within that response, and I was sort of part of that operations group with colleagues from children's services, public health, voluntary sector, safeguarding and early help teams. We incorporated the contact centre within Rochdale Council. We set up a helpline to ensure residents had that opportunity to phone in with a crisis, and there was a team there to look at that crisis and try and signpost them to support them. All this was done online, which was very, very interesting. So we set up our local response, and the teams, as I mentioned, from across numerous sort of departments within the council had never met each other before.
Right.
So the teams were set up via Skype. Really, it was a very interesting way of setting up a team sort of from scratch and getting to know your colleagues through Skype rather than the usual means. But those teams came together phenomenally well and helped residents who were absolutely in crisis. We received thousands of calls from residents.
All right. And what sort of things were people asking, talking about? How have you helped?
So the initial response predominantly was for food. Right. People were having to shield, or they may well have lost their income, so they were struggling to sort of provide food. So we had set up five sort of hubs, and one of those hubs was an actual sort of food warehouse in an old shop within the town centre, and colleagues were there sort of putting together food parcels, appropriate food parcels as well, because we're quite aware that we've got lots of diversity within the borough, and we wanted to ensure that those food parcels were acceptable to many members of the local community. But it wasn't just food parcels. As phone calls came into the call centre, it was quite clear that food was the first reason, but people were in crisis for many different reasons. Yeah. So our team sort of were involved in collecting prescriptions, signposting for pensions advice, sourcing food vouchers for families, even sourcing fridges and freezers and radios. And I remember one person sourcing a book for a lady who had a problem with her television, but something for that lady to do to try and stop social isolation and try and help people stay connected. Yeah. One sort of big area of groups that really didn't come to the forefront within Rochdale was the mutual aid groups. Right. Really sharing their expertise and highlighting the value of that sector, what it brings to the well-being of the residents, because what we found within the borough, lots of mutual aid groups were popping up. Right. Local people with their neighbours were trying to help other neighbours, and they were trying to come to the council and ask, can we help? What can we do to help? Can we collect prescriptions? Can we do different things? And we've really found that the mutual aid groups have such a valued understanding of the local area and local residents, and really knew what those localized concerns were.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole local piece is so important in this. And you talked about a lot of almost the negatives, people shielding, people not having enough food on the table, etc. Did you do positive intervention as well? Did you do anything to try and lighten the mood, for example?
Absolutely. We had lots of, as an example, so our nutrition team in a normal world would provide healthy eating advice and sort of weight management courses, but in the COVID world they went online and did virtual cooking and really supported people with what was in their sort of store cupboards at home. So they'd go on, they were online, and they managed to do sort of things that you could do in a microwave, or things that you had in your cupboard that you probably don't really know what to use. There was lots of online sort of activity around cooking, which was really, really helpful and sort of really supportive. We did lots of online things within Link4Life, and Link4Life at Home was born. Right. So we have our Link4Life at Home is sort of our virtual platform, and on that platform we have a variety of lots and lots of fun activities for people, really. So anything from physical activity, if your thing is a high intensity class, there's something for you there. If your thing's a yoga class, there's something for you there as well. But clearly we're not just a sport and physical activity, we're a cultural trust as well. So on there's lots and lots of support for people who may want to take part in more cultural activities as well. So there was an opportunity there for people who had to stay at home and were unable to sort of get out to access that provision. Yeah. We also did live classes. We set up programs for some of our more vulnerable, because within the team we do work with lots and lots of different people, but within our active living team we work with sort of older residents who may have long-term conditions. You know, they could be stroke survivors or cancer survivors, and they're relying on our sort of classes to firstly enable them to take part in physical activity, but secondly, and probably more importantly, it was the social element of those sessions. So our team continued the online stroke class with 20 plus sort of people phoning into that class, and they did a live class every week to ensure that there's that continuity of delivery.
It's really important, that whole socialization piece that we're all missing out on. So it appears that you've responded incredibly well. You've brought communities together and you've used communities to do things, but what are you taking from this? How will this change what you deliver in the future? What's your learning from this?
I think we've embraced online as well. We've asked people what they would like sort of from the organisation and from Link4Life, and we've done sort of lockdown quizzes. We've done, as I mentioned, the online sort of classes as well. But what we have done and what it's enabled us to think very differently about our organisation and the structure of our organisation. And the fact that we've been involved in this local response, and some of the team are still involved in the local response in January 2021 now, and it's made us really think about how we are as an organisation and really put us in the heart of the local organisation. We are the charity, and we want to be the charity of choice within the borough. But it's actually made us think really carefully about partnerships, and it's shown, I feel, how partnerships can work and true partnerships can work. Because what I found as being part of the operations group is I was with a group of similar-minded individuals. You know, we had that can-do attitude, and there was so many problems that arose through the pandemic, clearly because we've never done this before. So we were learning, we were learning together, and we truly learned together, and people's professional sort of abilities to get through problems and to find solutions was really, really apparent. And it became quite clear that Link4Life as an organisation, we needed to work differently.
Right.
You know, we needed to think about how we're seen within the local community, because the local response put us on the forefront, and it could have been very different with our facilities being closed, but actually our team sort of showcased the organisation strongly. And I think as a result of that showcasing, we're changing our structures, and we're looking at working in a much more locality way. Okay.
Well, that's really positive. What do you mean by that, though? How would I know the difference? And you've got a couple of minutes left on.
Yeah. I'd say we're present within the local areas. So Rochdale as a borough has 4 townships.
Right.
Sort of Haywood, Pennine, Middleton, and Rochdale. There's two in Rochdale. So our teams will be based in those localities. Yeah. And they have been based in those localities as part of the local response. So they have a much better understanding of the needs and aspirations of those local communities, and therefore bring that back to Link4Life. And we look at how within Link4Life, through our mainstream programs and through our funded projects, we can work differently, and we can really make that difference to local communities, really. And we have more of an understanding of the need and the wants. Rather than putting a program on for people, we'll put programs on with people, and that's a very, very different way of working.
Absolutely, that whole enabling and empowerment type of stuff is so important within those communities. Donna, that's been absolutely fascinating, and I knew when we first started talking, if I didn't set my stopwatch, we'd go over. We're really close to that 15 minutes. So I'm going to say thank you, Donna. But
you're welcome.
Notes that we'll put out with the presentations, people will be able to link in with you if they want to have any questions or whatever else. So Donna, that is just fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. You take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.